I just couldn't help it. I needed to keep talking about this book. It's that good. And I fixed the light, so hopefully you'll forgive me about the last video. The last video was important. It was about health and fitness. But this one is a little bit more, I guess, real. This kind of goes into, I'm talking about the book Unbroken, written by Laura Hillenbrand. And it's a World War II story about a gentleman named Louis Zamperini. I don't know if it's Louis or like Luis, but I think in the book they really call him Louis. You know, you always hear about war and you hear about the conditions of war, but you really don't get the whole story unless you talk to a vet. And with my family, we've got a couple veterans. We thank them for their service, but we really don't get to hear some of the scary stuff that happens. We don't ask either, out of just kind of a sign of respect. But this book kind of goes into some of those details. One of the things that I was just shocked about listening to this book, I'm listening to it on audible.com, was not just the fact that war is awful, because we all know war is awful. Horrible things happen at war. But one of the quotes in this book said, life is cheap during war. And I was just like, whoa. You know, I wrote that down. I was like, to say life is cheap is a very strong statement, and that's what they did. And it was just talking about more of these soldiers were dying in non-combat related accidents. I believe that's the way the book was saying it, was non-combat accidents. And I was just like, wow. And then the quote came up, in war life is cheap. And I was like, man, that's just awful. You know, war is awful, but that phrase alone was just shocking to me. And it kind of just gives you a realization of how horrible the conditions must have been. Another thing that I was just like, wow, you don't think of, you know, when you're thinking about these planes flying around and people fighting and battling, you think of guns, you think of bombs, you think of maybe chemical warfare. I was shocked. One of the things that they feared most were the sharks. These guys in the planes, while they're flying over oceans and fighting with other planes overseas and fighting potentially boats and in the islands, they were scared of the sharks. They were willing to risk, you know, dying in the plane over jumping out with a parachute, because they knew they would survive with the parachute, and it may have been worse surviving with the parachute than just going down with the plane. And I was just like, man, what a awful situation to find yourself in. It's like, to live with the hope of surviving a little bit longer, or like to live with the hope of being rescued, while, if you choose that route of hoping to get rescued, the potential death of sharks, or just go down the plane and you know it's all over. And some people were choosing to just go down with the plane. I was like, whoa, that would be rough. And then the other part was the fear of getting captured, the fear of becoming a prisoner of war. They had islands during this World War II war, an island known as, I think, Death Island or Torture Island. I can't remember what they call it in the book, but it was just like, man, this was a scary, scary deal. And I'm sure that war today is no better. But it's just shocking. For me, I'm not in the military and never went through any of that kind of stuff. But it's just like, wow, you know, war is rough, war is scary, and war is not fun. And I saw a post the other day on Facebook, and it was kind of like, wow, is it, you know, it's not PC, but it was saying 18-year-olds today are crying for comfort, while, you know, in World War II, 18-year-olds were storming beaches. You know, they were running into gunfire. It was just like, man, times have changed. And we still have, you know, young men serving. And, you know, I appreciate your service. Thank you for everything you've done and everything you're doing. But for me and for people like me, there are men and women out there that are risking their lives, risking their all, so that we can have the freedoms that we do have. And it's just, don't waste it. And don't do something stupid with it. Reading this story and listening to this book is like, it makes life seem even more precious. Life is a gift. And reading this story not only is life a gift, but if you have a good life, that's a really good gift. Because listening to this story, I've seen the movie, I know he survived, but he went through a lot of stuff. And it's not fair, but gosh, makes you kind of just sit back and think, you know what, I don't have it that bad. And you don't. This guy went through a lot. So back to the planes. These planes were wonderful machines in the sense that they were doing amazing things, new things. They were flying. I mean, if you think about it, it's a bus that's floating in the air. I mean, it's almost a modern miracle at the time. They're getting this hunk of metal carrying bombs and people and cargo off the ground. That's awesome. But the problems were some of these machines had engine failures. Some of them would have flaws, and they couldn't figure out what the flaw was. They knew it felt funny in the air, and they didn't want to be on that plane. And so they were still trying to fine-tune air travel and air combat at the time. So this is a scary time to be in the airplane world, but it was the cutting edge. It was the new front, and so that was kind of cool. But like I said before, planes were good machines, but they weren't great machines yet. They were still very risky, and a lot of men. They said more, like I said earlier, more soldiers were dying in non-combat related accidents, and it was just like, wow, that's shocking. That's hard to grasp. But anyway, I'm rambling. This book has been captivating. I've thoroughly enjoyed digging into this book. This is my second time to talk about it. The first time was about running faster and being motivated. This one was just the realization that, man, wartime is tough, and I just hope that we never have to see anything like that ever again. I hope you liked this talk. I hope you will go get this book yourself. It has been really, really captivating, really entertaining, and really eye-opening for those of us who haven't had any experience in the military. And Louis' biography has been an amazing story to read about, and I'm excited to get to the end of the book because it has really been good this far. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments below or give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe, and again, if you've got a book you'd like me to read or a book you'd like me to review, let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to get to it, and like always, y'all have a great day.